Hello, my name is Dr. Moore and I'm back. I'm going to talk to you about time management, managing your process. Now, there's a quote at the very beginning of this lesson that says, managing your time is the art of managing your process. And behind every great feat is the ability to adapt, enhance, and execute. Now, when we do something, say you do something and it allows you to have that success that you want. Part of the goal of the OS2 project is for you to become conscious of that approach that you take, but also understanding the process. What steps did you take? And to be able to manage your time efficiently, I believe, is really understanding what steps you took for that, did they work, and how much time it actually took you to do it. And with that, you can begin to modify and adapt and change in a way where you can begin to juggle more and win in the end. Now, along with that, when I was a college student, when I was a student of science, when I read a chapter in the book, in my mind, I was like, how long did it take me to read this chapter? Okay, it took me 2 hours. All right, I have a problem set to do. How long did it take me to do this problem set? It took me 2.5 hours. So I was always monitoring how much time, and if it was something in the back of my mind or something that I was consciously writing down, I was always trying to figure out so I can have an intuition and a very conscious ability to understand how much time it took. And with that, it allowed me to begin to juggle 2 technical classes, a math or science course, or then 3 technical classes where then maybe you could have to get to the place you can take 4. But it's that piece where not only are you managing your time, but you're also managing the quality of your thoughts. Now, when you have stress and pressure on you, everybody deals with that different. But sometimes folks, when they have pressure or stress on them, they move from, okay, I'm going to use my memorization or my pattern recognition game because I only have 2 hours to understand this information for my exam and just try to cram it into my mind? Or am I going to stick with the conceptual thinking? How do I make sure it still is personalized to me and I'm making unique connections to it? So there's always that balance happening. Am I going surface level when I'm just memorizing and looking for patterns? Or am I going to stick with that conceptual, that quality thinking? And so when you're actually going through the process of managing your time, you want to be conscious of that and make sure that you do that in a way where you still can get that quality thinking, that conceptual thinking in. Because at the end of the day, understanding things at that level will allow you to problem solve, especially when you haven't seen something before, and win. So we got this. All right, so as a student of science, we know that there's the art of understanding these scientific concepts, trying to master them, trying to prove to yourself that you understand them and then own them. But along with that, there's the art of time management, and we call it the juggle, right? You're constantly juggling. And that it becomes more intense during finals. So as we're moving now into that season, I really want you guys to be able to maximize the time that you have and then really lock in the information in a way that you can own it when it's just you taking that exam and there's no one else around. All right, so we'll start on page 133 in the workbook. Time management, managing your process. So Johnson, go ahead and read that quote for us real quick at the very top.
Managing your time is the art of managing your process. It lies beneath every great feat is the ability to adapt, enhance, and execute.
All right, so what am I saying in that quote, Johnson?
So I think to master managing your time, you gotta start somewhere, and to be a great student and to excel, in life, you need to eventually learn how to be quick on your feet and like really adapt and um, yeah, just be able to change things around so that it can benefit you in a certain way.
Okay. Anybody want to add anything or subtract anything from that?
Oh, I like the word you use, process. Because sometimes, yeah, not sure if, I feel like when we make things in a process,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we can go fast, slow, and tougher, you know. And then by really manage that, we have a better picture of how this process goes.
And when I say process too, it's you could do something and be successful at it, but if you don't understand what your approach and your process was to do that, then was it a fluke? Was it by luck? Right? Can you replicate it? Right? Like really understanding the steps that you took, right? And then being able to analyze them and, you know, figure out, you know, like that's one of the things where, you know, when I was a student of science in school, I always liked to study with people who thought differently than me. And I always liked to look at how they solve problems, even if I got the right answer. Right? Because, you know, sometimes you're doing a physics problem, you're doing a chemistry problem, and you get the right answer, but I'm like, you know, let me just see how you did that, right? And then they had a step that was different than mine, and maybe their step saved 2 steps or 3 steps. So I'm like, huh. In the back of my mind, I'm like, well, was it a fluke that this one time you did that work? Because we don't know, right? Or does this work every time? But I want to know that. And then if it actually is something that works every time, then I want to snatch that up and I want to use that for how I get down moving forward, right? But I'm taking a chance, I'm taking time out to understand the process of how not only I got the right answer potentially, but how the person next to me got it in a different way. And is there anything I can learn from that, right? Because most people are going to flip to the back of the book and be like, ooh, I got the right answer, move on, right? They're like, oh, I'm good. Oh, you got, okay, you good too. And they just keep moving, right? But it's like, nah, I want that unagi in between. I need that. All right, so we're going to team up. You guys are naturally at a table. You guys may have to migrate to that table right there. So we want 2 groups of 4. And this is what the task will be. And I'm going to time you guys. I want you to create 3 unique quotes that, 1, describe how to be successful in college, 2, explain the meaning of life, and the 3rd is inspire someone to achieve greatness. You got 4 minutes. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys migrate over there. Somebody needs to take the lead, right? Potentially or not, maybe somebody doesn't have to take the lead and you guys just, you know, flow with each other like Niagara. I don't know. But all I know is that I'm about to start this timer. And when I do, you know, y'all need to figure out who you're about to be. All right, ready, go.
So, what are some keywords that you guys know?
All right, pens down. All right. I'm ready to hear and be inspired. Figure out what kind of quotes people got. Make it better feel good about life. All right, so we'll first just talk about, and I'll let each group, you know, go ahead and share. What was your process? We'll start with this group of coming up with these 3 quotes. Like, what steps did you take? What was your approach?
Well, we first found keywords that we think related to all the prompts.
Okay.
Because I personally thought they're pretty similar.
Okay.
And then afterwards, we found ways to relate these keywords and our prompts. So, like, how can we implement these words that we found and create
Okay.
What do we do?
Like, did you guys go one prompt after another, like serially? Like, how did you guys go through and get to those quotes?
We just went through one prompt from another.
Okay.
Just bounced around ideas.
Yeah, I think like we, like each of us were coming up with ideas of, what that keyword means to us.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So then there was brainstorming. What key word meant or meaning? Okay. That sound about right? You guys are in agreement? All right. What was your guys' process?
So we started with something similar. We found keywords,
Okay.
and from there we kind of just, due to a lack of time, we started delegating prompts to each person, and then we worked on our specific prompts.
Okay, hold on. Delegate prompts to different people.
And
So each person had a prompt. One person was floating another, like how talk to.
so it was like if one person, so it was like if one person had two, and so one prompt for two people, for one of them, and then one for the rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So 1, 2, and then 3.
And if any of them finish early, then they will help the other one, or like check the other
Okay.
quote.
And finish. Help others.
And we're kind of just bouncing ideas off each other, trying to like confirm whether our prompt, like how our prompt sound, or how our quote sounded like, and whether we liked it. And how
Was that at the end? Was it kind of in between? Like,
that was whenever like we finished with our quote. Like when you finish a quote,
mhm.
then we kind of like checked to see how the sound. Maybe we can improve that.
Okay, so analyze and refine quote after you finish. Okay. All right, so anything else?
That's it. That's it.
All right, so starting with group 1, go ahead and read the 3 quotes.
Alright. Okay. Alright, the impossible is always possible through perseverance.
Okay, you guys hear that?
Yep. Yeah.
Say this one more time just to,
Yeah, feel it, really feel it, guys. Alright, the impossible is always possible through perseverance.
okay, nice.
Dreams can be fulfilled when we find our purpose.
One more time, just to project a little bit, just,
Dreams can be fulfilled when we find our purpose.
nice, okay, all right. Dreams can be fulfilled when we find our purpose. That connects to the perseverance ones too, go ahead.
Okay. Alright. Okay. Every mistake is a lesson to adapt in order to achieve greatness.
Okay, you guys hear that? All right, what you guys throwing on the table? You guys got ribs, pork, beef, what?
The first one we decided with collaboration and studies are, shit, I forgot.
You got it written down somewhere?
I did have a pencil.
Okay,
Yeah, but it's something like collaboration and studies create lifelong memories and knowledge. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
okay, all right, next.
I wrote down exist, survive, and go up. The quote literally coming from, how do you pronounce his name? He's quite famous.
That's somebody else's quote. That's not your guys' quote. What is your guys' quote?
Yeah, but I actually picked from the list of, yeah, well, I remember I have watched a speech of him a few times.
I know, but I'm talking about the assignment is a unique quote that you guys come up with.
Oh, well, to me, I like to, the way he represent, not just simply exist. but
I know, I'm just talking about the assignment. The assignment is what unique quote that you come up with to, for the prompt. So no one in the group checked to make sure that the quote that he came up with was unique? Or talk to me about you guys' process.
I didn't know. I thought we can use other people's quotes, but I think that's my fault.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got to actually said you either prepare to succeed or you plan to fail. Right? If you don't plan, you're actually in a plan to this process being failed. So succeed is not just for you to sit and come, but you have to get action, and take action, be committed to your goal, and then just implement that goal into your daily activities. That's how you got to be prepared to be successful.
Okay, that's your third quote, right?
Yeah.
And you have that written down somewhere because you kind of.
It's like if you don't prepare to succeed, you're gonna be planning to fail.
Okay.
That's a good thing. But that's a line actually from video games.
So you might have stole that too.
Honestly, I don't want to.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, since our topic is time management, I want to remind myself of this quote. Imagine.
Oh well, no. Well, you can share that later because we're just we have to go through the process, right? And the process is the 4 minutes are up, and we're reporting back out on what the results were. So, but yeah, share that quote at the very, very end and inspire me.
I want to inspire. So the expert.
Now, is it one that you came up with before the 4 minutes,
Before the
or?
4 minutes, yeah.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
The expert in everything was once a beginner.
Say that one more time.
The expert in everything was once a beginner.
Okay, all right. So let's move to 1B. Did your process for completing the task compromise the quality of your results? Right. So I want you to think about the steps, right, that we've outlined right here, and I want you to think about what your results were. And part of what we want to try to do is understand, did this get us to where we feel like we could own those quotes where this represents me? Because it's different, when someone else comes up with a quote, like, that's cool, but maybe I would have changed some stuff on it, but I didn't have the time to do it, or it's just super duper cool, we good. Like, talk to me about your process, and do you feel like the quality of what you came up with, you can go ahead and own that, turn that in, and get graded on it?
Do you want us to write it down or we share it?
We just sharing. What?
I think that we took a lot of, in our process, we took everyone's ideas kind of into consideration, and because there are 4 of us, that is time consuming, and that gave us less time to actually write the quotes themselves. So I think it did compromise our quotes at the end of the day because we didn't have the time we didn't have enough time to come up with our best ideas.
Okay. All right.
I think we would have made much more powerful and better quotes if we had more time.
Right, so that's always the balance. The balance is that time is finite, and maybe when we were younger and we used to stay up and spend 7 or 10 hours a day playing video games, we don't got that no more. Right? We got responsibilities. Some of us may have jobs. Some of us may have family responsibilities. Some of us may just have classes and whatever. So, you know, we kind of only have to deal with things with the time that we have and give it the best that we have, right? But like moving forward in life, it's just, that just becomes a lot more prominent. You know, like I wish I could go back to, look, all I have to do is focus on learning. But, you know, at some point, you're going to have to deliver on the learning and create, and someone's going to have to pay you to do it, hopefully. How about you guys?
So I think we were too worried at the time, and so our quality was like affected. And
Okay.
instead of we were too worried about getting enough votes that affected our collaboration.
So, how could you combat that? Right? Because, or does anybody have any techniques that they use when they're under pressure and there's time constraints to still have good quality and clarity of thinking?
I think maybe like if you, part of that just comes with experience, but also kind of thinking it's not there so you can produce your best work. Like don't acting like there's no time constraints so you can produce your best work while also working efficiently.
Okay?
And
So pretend like there's no time constraints so you can still, okay, all right. Anybody over here?
I would say it kind of relates to the fact that it comes with experience, but it's also through mistakes and more time doing it that you learn how you can study the best. Because I relate this specifically to studying. So, okay, what study methods are the most effective so I don't have to worry about my time constraints?
Yeah. I mean, so I agree. And it's through self-reflecting on your approach and process that you actually can, right, refine it in a way that you get better and more efficient and more effective, right? Like when you first start, I'll just speak more about myself, but I think this overlays with a lot of folks. When you first start studying in school, maybe you're trying to prove to yourself that you're smart enough to do well and get an A, so you may overstudy for a class, right? Or I'll just use the word, you may work really hard in that class to do well. And that hard may be putting in more time, right? Like I study for this class 5 hours this day, 8 hours this day, whatever. And then at some point, you want to move from working hard to working efficiently and effectively. It's not how much time you put into something, it's the quality of your thought and your thinking. And if you spend 2 hours studying for something, and I spend 15 minutes and I have the same quality of understanding, that's what's up. Right? Does that make sense? So going back to techniques, one of the things that I used to do, because there's always like, professor gives you that exam, boom, flip it over, you got 55 minutes, an hour to, to do these problems, right? And so you're doing these problems, you're trying to, ace this exam. There's always a couple problems at the end where you're like, damn, I can't figure these problems out. And these are probably the problems that are going to set the curve, right? Because they're challenging ones, and most people probably ain't going to be as straightforward with getting the right answer. So when the teacher says, you have 7 minutes left until this time is over, right? What happens is, this is the conscious part of your mind. This is the unconscious part of your mind, right? You want them to talk to each other, right? You want them to send information from here to here so you can figure out the problem, right? But right when that pressure hits and that time hits, this just starts to squeeze. You're like, oh my goodness. It starts getting cut off. And you're like, I'm isolated right now and I'm drowning, right? So it's how do you have this mug open up further and you don't let the time constraints, choke you, or choke the information going from your unconscious to your conscious, right? So one of the things that I used to do is I'm like, all right, Fred, I will go inside my mind, and I will go to a place in my mind where time doesn't exist, right? And in that place, I'm just floating in the air. There's nothing around me, I'm just floating in the air, but time doesn't exist, and then I will repeat to myself, Fred, just think. Just think. You got this, just think. Just slow everything down, think. And in that space, I just blocked out everything. And I could just sit there and just think about what I was trying to focus on. And then I would come up with the answer, and I would just squeeze back down into this normal time and space and be like, boom, I got this, and we would write that mug down. I don't even know when I would be in those modes how long I was in that space thinking, because it could have been 5 seconds or it could have been a minute. I wasn't tracking time. I just isolated and just blocked out everything so I can get to a different, what you ever want to call it, dimension or whatever, where I could just sit there and think. And we all have the ability to do that. Right? When people do things, when they do a skill over and over again and they get into the zone, time slows down. The basketball game gets slower to you. You can see things moving even before they happen, right? And maybe that's playing an instrument or whatever it may be doing, whatever you may be doing, but that's what you want to learn how to cultivate within yourself, is how to be fearless. But just learn how to block out everything around you so you can do your best thinking. And the other thing that I'm going to add to that is my thoughts in that space were thoughts of affirming myself. Right? They were thoughts to get me juiced. Right? I was repeating thoughts, not like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I didn't go into things are about to be, state. I'm like, no, you got this, slow down. And if you want to connect it to the workshop that I did a while ago on potential management, there's an affirmation in there where I say, a solution exists to every problem that's in front of you. Your job is to relax, open your mind, and let it come to you. A solution exists to every problem in front of you. Your job is to relax yourself, calm down, open up your mind, and let it come. And then just be ready to receive it. Right now, the other thing that I'll attach to that is, I used to call this mode of mine ghetto mode, right? Because part of me felt like I was kind of cheating, right? But in this ghetto mode, in my mind, I'm like, I know that I can't logically figure out this problem. I've tried to for the last 55 minutes. And so my logic here is it's not connecting to that in a way where I can write it, I can create that logic, but at this point I don't care, right? I just want to get the right answer. So when I came out of that mode, I just jotted down anything that came to my mind. Okay, PV equals nRT. And I would just start to write things down in the margin. And it's almost like my mind, I was vomiting just information from here to here. But I'm like, oh, hold on. This is connected to this, and this is connected to this. Oh, yeah, got it. And then I would just... So, 80% of the time when I did that, I got those problems right. Now, I'm going to sit here in front and be like, could I explain to you how I got the right answer? Because again, logically, I couldn't figure it out. But I had to trust my mind enough. I had to have faith that something back here knew that answer, and I had to just ride with it. And in my mind, that's kind of accessing the supermind. So people don't talk about that stuff, but people have a lot of different ways inwardly, inside their inner world, that they do to solve problems that aren't logical. And in the real world, no one really cares how you got to the solution as long as it's correct. But that's why I kind of called it my ghetto mode / ghetto cheating, because I'm like, I gotta switch to ghetto mode right now because I can't solve these problems. But, hey, it's something worth thinking about, and it's something maybe worth trying if it resonates with you. You know, if not, then that's what's up too. But as you move from your lower division courses to your upper division courses, and your professors really start teaching you more on making conceptual connections between things, and how to make conceptual connections that maybe you didn't cover in your homework. They want you to make that leap, where if you really understand that concept, then you can connect those concepts together and solve that problem. And that's going to take having faith, but also really understanding the concept, not using your memorization and pattern recognition game. I think I talked about this before, but I'll just explain this. I know I'm talking abstract right now, but just say you have you have 5 concepts that you're learning for the next physics exam. And you do practice problems where you see concept 1 and 2 connected to one another, and you see concept 4 and 5 connected to one another. But you learn concept 3 in isolation, right? But on that exam, that problem, you have to connect all of these concepts together. So you have to figure out why in this instance for this word problem, that 2 connects to 3. And why in this problem, concept 3 connect to 4. Then you can solve the full problem. But you can't be like, oh, I memorized doing such and such and such, but if the concepts don't mean anything to you, you can't take that leap. You're like, But if it makes sense to you, then you're like, this is the only way I can solve this problem, I'm gonna take the lead. So, I'm just saying, this is the game. Take it or leave it. This is how they're gonna test you as a student of science as you move upper division coursework. You can be like, Dr. Moore, damn, that's what he was talking about. I mean, like, that's, because people are impressed with conceptual thinking. They're not impressed that you have a photographic memory. I got the internet now. That's not what, huh? I don't need you. I can look that up. Right? They're impressed in regards to pattern recognition, if it's pattern recognition connected to concepts, because that's higher order thinking, where I took 2 random things and I realized that they're connected to one another. And I can use that to build. But that's what they're impressed with, is conceptual thinking. And you can't get there by memorizing stuff and having it have meaning to someone in the book who wrote it, or having it have meaning to the professor that told you that one thing, but then you just memorize what they said and it don't mean anything to you, right? Any questions, any thoughts, any comments? Talk to me, y'all. You guys good? All right, so having completed this task, what would you do different moving forward to maybe get to a place where you would feel good about the quotes that you guys came up with and own it for a grade? Start over here in this table because y'all had a whole lot of time to think. You know, y'all been thinking the whole time. How would you flip some things and, you know, switch it, rearrange it? Because, I mean, the way you guys talked about this process right here is actually a cool process, but maybe the implementation or something? I mean, I ain't gonna do the thinking for you, but talk to me, y'all. What you guys thinking over there?
I think if we had to go back, we would have like shortened the quotes and try to make it our own in a way. Like, we can have have different ideas, but like try to arrange it in a way that's more authentic to ourselves. And I think by doing that, we can get more like better quality quotes for the prompt.
Okay.
So,
So, making the quotes more yours or your own. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, while we delegated the quotes to each other, we could also check in even though we're not done with our own.
Okay. Now let's get real specific because we got 4 minutes, right? So is it 1 minute? The person works on each individual quote, then report back. Is it 2 minutes? I mean, we're just because we trying to optimize right now, right? How we gonna figure this out?
Yeah, I think per minute is a pretty good time to check in with each other.
After how much time?
1 minute.
Okay.
Check in for like 3 times. It should be like a good baseline.
1 minute brainstorm per person. And then 1 minute, do you guys go for each quote afterwards? I'm just talking to me, like what you got 4 minutes, so where we at?
Yeah, like, no, I was talking about when we delegated, we could just talk to each other.
I'm just talking about the time, so I'm just trying to figure out how you
Oh,
want it.
okay, yeah. Oh, and then,
So is it like 1 minute, quote 1, quote 2, quote 3? I'm just trying to, right, like,
yeah, that looks accurate.
I think that'd be a good process. Another process that I was thinking about could be like we brainstorm like the essential like the main ideas that we want to work on for each of the prompts, and then from there we build ours and try to make it connect into a quote that like speaks to what we're trying to say, and we can do that with each minute. For the first minute, we can kind of brainstorm what are like our main themes per quote.
mm-hmm.
Then the second minute, we can try to like build the first quote into one that speaks to what we're trying to say, and then do that for each of the quote.
So 1 minute main theme for quote 1?
So the first minute we brainstorm like the main theme for each of the quotes.
Okay, quote 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then from each minute afterwards, we work on each quote. So quote 1 for the second minute,
Okay.
quote 2 for the third minute, and then the last minute for the last quote.
Okay. 1, 2, and 3.
Then something else like going back, if we were to do it again, I would like take out my phone and put a timer so we can like
Mm-hmm.
when it's getting closer to the time
Okay.
when we need to pick up the pace.
Okay. I was wondering when someone was gonna say that. All right. How about you guys?
So I think like one process or stuff that I would adopt from our from the process that we did was like, cause when we were brainstorming ideas, we were just bouncing off ideas. We weren't really connecting the ideas to each other, so we couldn't come up with a quote. I feel like if we connected our ideas to make one quote, like we could have like created quotes faster.
Okay. So synthesizing the ideas, is that like similar to like mind mapping or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess.
All right. Go ahead.
I would have followed a similar system that they had. I think instead of brainstorming keywords, we should have immediately, okay, everyone on their own, figure out some quotes first minute, and then we can reconvene, and then we can work on each quote separately, and I guess see, like you said earlier today, you want to see what other people are thinking as well, because maybe they have better ideas than you. So that's when we would see, okay, so maybe I really like her idea, and then we'd be like, okay, let's pick that one, let's revise that one, minute one, and then
Mhm.
the next one, we pick one that we really like and we all resonate with, and then same thing, repeat for the rest of the minutes. So very similar steps that they have.
Okay. So this process that we're going through right now in regards to time management, this is something that you want to be doing consciously as you move forward, not only as you're just in school, and during normal conditions, but really going into finals, really mapping out how many days do I have before the finals start, and then how am I going to go about organizing the courses that I have to study for and the hours I want to study for them, and maybe even the people that I want to have in these study groups. Right? I'm not going to dig into the nitty gritty in that right now, but you can see that just going through and really thinking about your process and breaking it up into steps and trying to understand those can help you be more efficient, right? And more effective. But it takes time to actually reflect, and most time when people are under pressure, they just want to move on to, let me just get this done. I don't have time. Let me just get this done. So I'll give another example. So as a scientist, I really believe that scientists are on two spectrums. This is my second year in graduate school. There's the people that they use their internal will to make stuff happen, and when they have an idea, they just pour all the time in it and they just try to drive that idea to completion, but haven't really thought it through completely. And then on the other side, you have people who are very, very, very theoretical and intellectual, and they like the idea of just thinking about the idea in the experiment, but they never really get to the experiment. So I was on this side. I'm like, I'm just gonna outwork everybody, right? I'm just gonna put in 18 hours a day. I'm gonna put a 10 in the lab at night. I'm just gonna drive this experiment to work, but I got it to work, but I missed the control. Oh, damn, I gotta get it to work again. I should have thought about that control ahead of time. Or I didn't really think about it ahead of time, and if I really would have sat back and thought about it, then maybe I could have shaved off some extra time. So by the time I got to my 4th year in grad school, I could sit back and say, okay, I want to generate this paper, and this is a story. From this story that I want to tell, these are the 4 figures that I want to have in this story. Now let me design experiments for each one of these figures, and if the experiment doesn't work, let me think about it. Okay, I want to run 5 parallel experiments at the same time, because these 5 variables could have been the reason why it didn't work the first time. Boom, got it to work in 2 weeks. Oh, and it fits the story that I conceptualized ahead of time, and I can use this as a figure and all the controls are in place. But it took me 4 years to learn how to actually do that and do that effectively. Do you feel me? So it's a skill, but you actually have to give yourself permission and spend the time to learn how to think more efficiently and effectively. So just in life in general, and I'll just talk about just me as a MESA director, right? Again, I don't like to work hard. I just don't. But if I'm doing anything that I have to do 2 or 3 times, I'm trying to figure out a way to automate that bug. And I do. And other MESA directors are like, damn, Fred, your website does this and that and that. I'm just like, because I don't like to work hard. So, again, we're playing a thinking person's game, right? You guys are going to get paid a lot of money someday for people to think for people. And you want to be the best at thinking. Talk to me, y'all. What you guys thinking?
Okay, so I kind of relate this to my chem lab, okay? Because obviously they give us a lot of time, but me and my friend like to race to see who finishes first. Shouldn't, but and he always finishes before me, and I think it's because he delegates his time more efficiently, but he does it really fast. It takes me personally a second to, okay, I need to do this, this, and this, and then I have to get these materials, whatever, and line it up. So what's the best way besides through experience to shrink down my thinking time of like my prepping thinking time. Like, oh, what should I do here?
I mean, you're asking a really good question, and I think that that's going to be an individual process because everyone does think differently. But if I'm thinking about it for myself, when I'm doing something for the first time, I don't know how much time it's going to take me to do it. So I give myself more time to do it, especially if I want it to be quality. But once I've done it once, then I got experience now. Let me start looking for shortcuts and how to refine it. But if I'm doing something for the first time, that's just how I get down. I would rather document everything, right? Sit back and think about it along the way. So when I actually get to that results of that experiment or what the lab may be, I actually can process it and actually know with confidence that it's actually this. So in life, it's not about how fast you think and process information. What's important is, are you actually right?
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So, relating back to the chem lab, if you want to have like quality and to like do quickly, I think going over the procedure before the lab and just visualizing what you're going to do on the day of the lab, like ahead of time, that's gonna definitely help.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I like that. What else? It's brilliance in the room. Y'all need to start throwing out some things.
I also think when you're talking about when you're doing your exam and then just kind of jotting things down randomly and then not randomly but like your information, just vomiting or information. I think that can be applied to this exercise where you kind of just like jotting ideas and down, just trying to connect it into like a sentence or a quote. So
Yeah, mind mapping. I do that a lot. When I'm, say, creating a new lesson or workshop, it's almost like my spirit knows what it wants to say, but I haven't consciously put it into words, and it's not definitely linear yet. So I mind map a lot, and I'll be like, this is what I want to have the student experience at the end, or these are the key questions that I want to ask, and then I just start to brainstorm what solutions or what could be to that. And I just brainstorm them down and I go through and I'm like, okay, this is how I think. But what about someone who doesn't think like me? And I'll just go through and try to think about it from a 360-degree lens. And then I'll go through the process of then put it into a story that takes somebody from the very beginning of that lesson to the end, knowing that at the end, this is what I want this person to walk away with. And I'll even have ways where, and I call it the money question. Sometimes I can't start off with a very deep question until the people who I'm doing the workshop with have loosened up and started doing some thinking. So I'll have like 1 or 2 setup questions that are priming us to then get to the money question. This is the one I wanted to ask all along, but I couldn't go there, right? And so, there's different ways that people can go about that, but that's my creative process of going about creating lessons or whatnot. Everybody's different. They got to figure out their process, right? All right, so let's go. So each time we're placed in a challenging situation where we have to work under pressure, there is a unique opportunity to learn about ourselves and grow. For example, in the create the 3 quotes exercise, how did you respond physically and emotionally at the point that you felt like you were running out of time? Because on purpose, I was like, you got 1 minute left. You got 10 seconds left, right? How did it make you feel? Did you tense up? Were your thoughts, did you stay focused? Did you look around at the people around you and say, damn, what we gonna do? I don't know. But those are things that you want to think about, and again, find ways to counter it so you can still have good quality thinking under pressure. Y'all with me? All right. So scenario 1. I'm gonna have Jessica. Go ahead and read that scenario for us on page 135.
You're a college student majoring in biology and have to take 2 technical classes, calculus and general chemistry,
So, what steps are you going to take to manage your time taking calculus and chemistry?
See like which class is more challenging, or which has more challenging material, and deciding what you need to spend more time on. to
Okay.
understand it.
So for you, which one would you feel like would be your percentage ratio based on calc or chemistry?
Similar to the example, yeah, 35 and 65.
35 calc?
Or calc, yeah.
Okay, so 35% calculus and 65% chem. All right, anybody else different this side of the room?
More of a 30-70 for calc and
Okay. All right, so you start off this semester and you have these ratios, right? After the first exam, oh no, at the midpoint of the semester quarter, you have an A minus B plus and chem, but you have a C minus, D plus in calc. What do you do?
I would allot most of my time in the in the classes that I'm struggling in, and where I have like C minus D plus.
So how much, I mean, say you just take one of these percentages, the first one on top, how would you then allocate?
I would, okay, so I'm not sure like I understand. So like I'm just comparing between like two courses.
And so so just say, at the end of the day, these percentages just represents time and energy, right? So if you had 100 units of energy that's connected to time, you put 35% of that 100 units into studying calculus, and you put the other 65 into studying chemistry. But at the midterm, this is where you're at in these courses. So you need to figure out how to redistribute your time and energy moving forward potentially.
I would allocate 60 or 70% of my 65% of my time on calculus, and then 35 on.
It's kind of small.
All right. Would anybody do anything different, and the reason why?
I would do like 10. I'd probably limit test how less time I could spend on chem to see if I could improve the calc.
So what would your percentage be?
It'd be like 40, 60 then at that point.
40 calc?
Yeah.
And the goal with the 40% is what?
Is to pass the class while not like compromising on the chem.
Ooh. Okay. So then this right here moves up to a C. I'll play plus. And then
Hopefully.
you stay at A minus in this because you only dropped it off by 5%.
Yeah.
Okay. But your thoughts here.
Maybe I'm hoping that I could raise my graded calc to a B minus, but this may be like unrealistic. And then keep my grade as an A minus.
Okay. So this way of thinking is one thing that I would encourage you to do if this is the beginning of the semester quarter. After every exam, you go back over that exam, and in the OS2 workbook, there is what we call course study tactics, where you're actually writing the steps that you believe that you need to take to get a good grade or master the concepts in each class. And then after each exam, you then evaluate that and refine that. And you even have who did you study with on there, and you may have to substitute some folks out that maybe ain't delivering, right? But after every exam, you should be modifying your percentage. Or if it's working, maintaining it, right? But we're trying to figure out how to be efficient with our time, right? So we're gonna reflect on every single exam, what the outcome was, and then how we can then better, either maintain what we have or, bring up some areas that maybe aren't where we want them to be. You guys with me? All right, so moving forward, we're taking 3 technical courses. Because as students of science, at some point, you gotta take 3, depending on what your major is. And if you're engineering, you gotta take 5. So, pre-med, this semester you're taking OChem, you're taking physics, and you're taking calc either 2 or 3. Han, what's gonna be your percentage of how you're gonna get down with these courses?
I'm dead.
No, you ain't. No.
Okay.
Because our mindset as we start that semester is gonna dictate how well we do, right? And if you go into that semester saying, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this, I hope I pass, right? Then you're gonna bring all that negative energy and emotions to everything you look at, and you're gonna be like, damn, how am I gonna get through this exam, right? Instead of a solution exists. All I need to do is open my mind and let it come to me because I'm smart enough, because I'm brilliant enough. Oh, thank you for that idea, I got this, right? So talk to me.
40 on OChem, 40 on physics, and 30 on calc.
Okay.
Oh, 30. Oh, right. 10.
I'm getting old, but I can add a little bit. You wanna switch these up though? You wanna go 30 and then 30 here, or what?
35, 25.
35 physics?
Yeah.
Okay. So, when you're taking 3 technical courses, in my opinion, and you want to do well and get A's in all of them, you're hoping that at least one of those classes comes easy to you. Right? Because I think people rarely divide up classes in this way, 33, 33, 33. Now, you're hoping too in your mind, again, I'm just talking about my process, I should know how much time it should take me to do well in this calculus class, because this is at least the 2nd or 3rd calculus class. Right? So if I'm monitoring how I did in Calc 1 and how much time it took me to do well, if I'm monitoring how I did well in Calc 2, I should pretty confident when I throw this number here that I can kind of nail that with that percentage of time because I got some experience in the game, right? And then for me, it's always the class that I haven't taken before that's the wild card. So I got to give myself a little bit more time in that class because I just don't know what to expect. And I don't like to just rush through stuff, and relying on pattern recognition and memorizing stuff versus deep level thinking. But that's just my rationale. You have to figure out what your process is. Johnson.
So, I was thinking something similar. I was gonna put more time it's roughly the same, my thought process. But I would just put maybe a little more physics and chem. That's about it. That's
So this is the balance that's happening no matter what, and you want to be conscious of it. It's always would you rather have deep level thinking and understanding or surface level? Now, it's easy to say, I want to have deep level if you feel like you have unlimited time, right? But it's always when you have those time constraints, right? Like when you don't have as much time as you want, which one are you going to actually rely on? So let me just go and just read this real quickly, because I always like to cut myself up. You are heading to the finals with a B in all 3 courses. You realize between looking at your final schedule that 2 of your finals, Calc and Physics, are on the same day. That's right. Welcome to the big leagues. What you gonna do? You can't cry or whine. You just gotta elevate, right? So mathematically, you still can get A's in all your courses. From my standpoint, that's all I care going into finals. You gotta deliver. Do I got a mathematical chance, right? If I got a chance, then let's go to war, right? Let's go, right? If I don't, damn. I don't know how I feel about that, but I sometimes, and you guys think I'm playing, I used to sometimes talk to a professor and be like, listen, if I don't got a mathematical chance, can I put everything on the final? They're like, you want to put everything, you know the final's comprehensive. I'm like, I know it's comprehensive. If I ace the final, will you give it to me? And some professors be like, I'll give it to you. If you have that much confidence going to this final, will you put everything on the final? I'm like, I'll put it all on the final. I got to deliver. But anyway, I'm digressing. I'm just saying, you have a mathematical chance, right? So with that, you in the process of weighing your options, deciding what approach you use to prepare for your finals. For example, do you surface level cover all the material in all the courses? Do you thoroughly cover 80% of the material in all the courses? Or do you choose a different approach? So, this is real life right now, right? You guys are trying to apply the transfer, they're looking at these grades, and they're gonna judge you based on this semester of how good your juggling game is, right? Talk to me, y'all. And somebody different. What you thinking?
I was thinking 20, 40, 40. Actually, no.
No. Right now we're talking about surface level or deep level.
Oh, I'd go for surface level for physics and calc.
And what's the reason why?
Well, it's because I know that they relate a lot. So if I go for surface level for both of them, I could connect them.
Okay.
But OChem is kind of different compared to those two.
Okay. How about somebody in the spirit?
Deep low for OChem physics, and then surface with calc.
Okay. So this is what everybody is going to be, subjected to moving forward, especially over the next couple weeks, right? How do you allocate your time? I don't know what your guys' schedule is. I don't know if you're taking 2 technical, 3 or 4, but it's going to come down to, based on your grade right now, going into that final, do I go surface or do I go deep? And there's no right or wrong, because you have to figure out how to master your mind. You have to figure out how to master your approach and your process to mastering these math and science concepts. Like, you have to walk through that path, and you have to then understand that piece and apply it to deliver, right? I can speak for myself. I would go 80% deep level and not cover 100% of the material, then go surface level. Surface level for me, it just doesn't work. And if I'm taking an exam and I'm trying to remember what the professor said to me or someone who I studied, what they said to me, if I'm in my mind thinking about what they said because I didn't really understand it, but I just memorized what they said, in my mind, I'm losing. I'm like, damn, they know the shit, so they can figure out this problem, but I don't know it, and I can't really build with it, right? So my metaphor is with like science. It's almost like you're parachuted into this ocean, and the ocean is all the math and science concepts that exist in the universe, right? And the way they teach math and science is they try to scaffold it for you. They say, okay, we're going to teach you calculus, we're going to teach you, advanced algebra and trigonometry, so then you can learn how to integrate and find the area underneath things that aren't geometrical shapes or a wave, right? And then we're going to then apply that to physics problems and concepts of physics. And then we're going to maybe use those and the energy that we learn in physics to better understand biology and ATP and what that is, or understand chemistry and what these bonds mean. But it's all scaffolded in a way where if it's just surface level, I don't have anything to hook onto, right? So in my mind, I'd rather go deep and in this ocean, put this big pillar here. And this pillar is E equals MC squared. If I know that E equals MC squared, then I can maybe substitute force equals mass times acceleration. I can find a way to get to somewhere else because I understand what this is, and I can go from this pillar to this pillar over here. And then I can be like, okay, what do I know that's rooted over here? And I can get to this pillar by deduction or induction, and I can find my way to a solution. But if I'm just on this ocean in a raft, floating around surface level like this, I don't have anything to hook on to. I'm just like, damn, what's up, right? And again, everybody's different, right? But I would rather lean on something that I feel like I really understand and use that way to get myself somewhere versus just, I've seen this before, I memorized this from the book, I'm just gonna roll with that. And this is the kicker. Even if that's your approach and you get the right answer, are you going to be able to use that concept 5 or 10 years from now to create? Or is it just going to be gone because you really never made it personal to you in the first place and never had real meaning to you? You just use your short-term memory to get through that thing, but now you can't utilize it later. And again, there's no right or wrong. I'm just giving you guys things to think about because these are the kind of decisions you guys are making every moment of the day and that you will be making moving forward until you get through these finals. Talk to me, y'all. What y'all thinking? Go ahead.
Well, I just have a question. Are you saying that you will go deep level of thinking for 3 of the subjects?
Yep. I would go deep level and just cover 80% of the material. 20% is missing in each one of these courses. 20% is missing. But the other part of the game that I'm trying to also explain to you guys is, and again, my job is to prepare you for upper division courses and when you transfer. Right? I want you guys to transfer to the next institution and be like, I got this, because I understand. Right? So, as someone who has an advanced degree in STEM and even taught college, and taught science courses in college, I can tell you how I used to run my course. And my course is, I would just tell students straight up, I'm like, if you think you're going to memorize your way out of this course and pass this course, let me just tell you up front, you're not. Because I'm going to challenge you to think. So, you may have a teacher where the teacher says, I'm going to have 40% easy problems. I'm going to have 40% medium problems, and I'm going to have 20% hard problems. So you nailing all the easy problems and the medium problems, I'm just gonna give that to you, right? And you nailing 5% of the hard problems, you're already at 85%. Right? No mistakes on the easy ones and medium ones, right? And I'm also just going to break down the game in regards to when you're in a competitive institution like a UC Berkeley, or UC San Diego, or UCLA, where these courses may be graded on a curve. I'm going to go 20% easy. Oh yeah, just 20. They easy, right? I'm going to go 40% medium, and that's right, 40% hard. You're not going to get through this exam surface level. Sorry. You're just not. Because those 1 or 2 problems that no one got in the back of the book that you went to that tutor for, and you went to the professor to have them explain to you that process of that hard problem, and you still didn't really know it, but you memorized every step that the professor told you, or that tutor told you, and you're like, if I see anything remotely associated with this problem, I'm just gonna go there with that. I'm not saying you guys do that, I'm talking about other people, right? And I've already explained to you the 5 concept idea. The making the connections between concept 2 and 3, and 3 and 4. So you're going to be in the ocean floating around, you're going to have to figure out how to get to land. And again, everybody has to figure out what that is for them.
So to add to that, I think studying more hard is beneficial in the long run, just because sometimes hard questions, they have easy or medium questions inside them, so you can kind of like, if you do less than easy, sometimes you can use your prior knowledge to just retain some information, sometimes you can use information from the hard problem just to get the answer for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions, any thoughts?
I think mastering your concepts from your lower division courses will like help you in your upper division. I definitely feel like I did a lot of shortcuts on like calculus, chemistry, so like some of my concepts are on the surface level. So before transferring, like I have to like restudy like those concepts, so like I can be better prepared.
And that's fine. I mean, especially with math, I mean, we all have gaps in our math knowledge, because you don't even know if the professor that taught your calculus class taught you everything that everyone else who took calculus in the country had. Maybe, they got sick for a couple weeks and they just took this section out. I mean, like, everyone has gaps in their math knowledge. It's just, can you identify it and correct it when you need to solve a problem, right? So going back and relearning things and rememorizing, refamiliarizing yourself with things, that's kind of a natural thing to do as you get to upper division and you start to build upon some of the lower division concepts, right? But it's what's harder to do is if your mindset is, I'm always going to take the shortcut and go surface level, you haven't built that muscle up. Right? So you're like, you start short-circuiting. You're like, this is way too much. It takes way too much time because you haven't built that muscle. So if you build the muscle up along the way, then you actually get quicker at deep level thinking. Your mind starts to process that much easier. But if you haven't built that muscle up, you're like, it took me 5 hours to understand this concept, and like Fred learned it in an hour and he moved on, right? And I'm like, we learned this right here in physics. You're like, no, we didn't. And then I'm like, I'll break it down to you because I connected the new information that I'm learning to the existing information so I can tie them together for understanding. And so I can make it personal to me. But that's how I'm building this big ship, right? I'm building these big ports in the ocean that I can just sail to, boom, stop here, I'm good, and go to this other spot, versus just being in this little lifeboat. I know I'm talking smack. Floating around, you know what I'm saying? Like with a ham sandwich and like, you know, only one person in the boat with me. Because I may have to get Hannibal Lecter on you real quick. Anyway, y'all don't listen to me. Anyway, any points, any thoughts, any comments? All right, so this is where I want to leave you guys with. You know, I think that it would be prudent to really, for the next couple of weeks, just lay out a game plan. You know, I personally, you know, learned a lot from studying with people. If you're going to study with people in these different courses, you may just want to just go ahead and send emails and texts on Discord, set those groups up now, and just saying, you know, we're going to meet on this day from 3 to 5, moving forward. Come to those study groups with practice exams that you guys can copy and just go through and do those problems. You know, when you have two exams, in this case scenario, physics and calculus on the same day, then you're automatically are going to be studying for those two courses because those are the first two courses that you have to get tested on. But then when you let OChem go for a week because you're studying for physics and calculus, then you're going to miss all the material that are more current, and then you don't get a chance to go back and review the previous information. So even if once a week or twice a week you have a study group for OChem and you're coming there ill prepared, at least you're thinking about that for 2 hours and it's keeping it fresh in your mind. And then I was really good at the question game, because if Han knows something that I don't know, I can extract that out your mind. I can ask you 5 different questions. Han, break that down to me. Give me a metaphor. What does that mean? Okay, give me a metaphor. And I would poke holes in your metaphor, be like, nah, that doesn't make sense to me. Okay, that makes sense to me. Boom, I'm good. And I would own it afterwards. I would own your concept and I would integrate it in real time and make it mine. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Well, how are we going to use this for what? Right? I mean, I got good at working with people where I didn't know as much as them because I didn't have a chance to study because I'm studying for something else. And then I would then try to own it in that moment and then move on and continue to study that subject area. So again, everyone's different, but the game is that don't drop the ball, right? It's still juggling. You got to juggle. You got to get good at juggling. All right, any last minute thoughts or questions before we end this? All right, well, I'm claiming you guys are going to come into these last finals and knock them out. You know, believe in yourself and, you know, focus. Don't forget to breathe, you know, before you take those exams. Just take 10 deep breaths, slow your mind down and just calm everything down. And, you know, and then the phrase that I usually tell my kids, you know, you either can win easy or you could look good losing. So go deep if you can.